Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Canal Algérie's News English and today's top stories. As part of the new vision for an economic relaunch of the country, local collectivities are granted full power in order to enhance their own economic development. Algeria among the leading countries in the world in terms of food security as conferred by Davos' latest reports, and this thanks to the fruitful agricultural development policy adopted by our country. The Algerian Production Fair in Nouakchott, an opportunity to integrate the Mauritanian and African markets and to establish partnerships. Lastly, Chan competition news. The Algerian team qualifies to the quarterfinals while leading Group A with 9 points. Good evening, those are today's headlines. As part of the new vision to boost the country's economic development, local collectivities were granted all powers and the role of local governors in terms of economic development was strengthened in order to make local collectivities a locomotive of the country's economic development. Manal Ammari.
Positive indicators were recorded across several provinces of the country during the year 2022 in terms of economic development, which will undoubtedly make 2023 a year to achieve a strong economic stability, particularly since the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, granted all powers to governors by strengthening their role and the roles of those elected locally, urging them to adopt a creative and flexible style to adapt to the new roadmap, a decision that was widely praised by all sides. In order to strengthen the governor's authority, the President of the Republic stated that evaluating governors will be done from now on based on economic performance and will be measured by the end of the current year on their ability to create institutions and job positions. According to the President of the Republic, the province will be classified according to its economic weight and the extent to which it contributes to the gross domestic product, meaning that the interprovincial competition has kicked off, and by the end of the year, Algerians will find out which provinces are the most attractive to investors, those that reflect an exceptional economic approach.
The latest report made by Davos classified Algeria among the leading countries in the world in terms of food security, owning it to its national production, thanks to which our country is highly ranked in the African and the global markets. Manal Ammari.
Algeria's prowess in the agricultural sector reached the World Economic Forum held in Davos every year. Within 2 years, agricultural production per capita has more than doubled, thanks to the agricultural development policy adopted by our country, which succeeded in becoming one of the leading countries in terms of food stability. During its last report published on the 17th of the current month, the Davos Economic Forum placed Algeria among the leader countries in terms of food security due to its national production. Within this context, the report highlighted that agricultural production per capita has doubled during the last 2 years, thanks to the efficiency of the agricultural model adopted by the public authorities. It should be noted that this report's results were added on to those concluded by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, which ranked Algeria in first place on the Arab and African level during 3 consecutive months in the year 2020, 2021, and 2022. Algeria managed to rise among leading countries with food security, thanks to the important National Agricultural Development Program and projects initiated by the public authorities in order to meet the national needs through the diversification of the agricultural supply. The Algerian economy's growth rate should exceed 2.3% for the year 2023, a more than praiseworthy rate, according to experts, who believe that Algeria succeeded by initiating new structural economic reforms for its economy's development.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ramtan Amamra, received on Saturday the United States Assistant Secretary of the State for International Organizations Affairs, Michel Sisson. The talks revolved around bilateral relations and prospects of promoting strategic dialogue and economic cooperation between both countries. The two parties also discussed issues related to regional and international issues and multilateral diplomacy. Let's have a listen to Michel Sisson, the United States Assistant Secretary of the State for International Organizations Affairs.
We work together to uphold the UN Charter, to lift up the most vulnerable populations, now also working together in Geneva at the Human Rights Council. So this is my first visit to Algeria, the beginning of 3 days of meetings and consultations with our ambassador, with the government of Algeria, with the United Nations team here to look at how the U.S. and Algeria can work not only bilaterally, but multilaterally to address these important issues.
On the sidelines of the National Production Fair in Mauritania, a forum was held on Saturday where both ministers of trade of the two countries recalled the importance of creating strategic partnership agreements between Algiers and Nouakchott. Sabrin Tafirginitu with the details.
The Algerian-Mauritanian Economic Forum is deemed as a real opportunity to consolidate and reinforce the partnership and cooperation in the important fields. These sectors are nowadays considered as generators of wealth and the employment. The Minister of Trade and the Promotion of Exports, Kamal Zik, and the Mauritanian Minister of Trade, Industry, Handicrafts and Tourism, Lamarabat Ould Benahi, insisted on the importance of strengthening cooperation and economic partnership agreements between Algeria and Mauritania.
إن تنظيم مثل هذه المواعيد الاقتصادية يعتبر فرصة أخرى من أجل التقرب.
The organization of such economic events constitutes a new opportunity to bridge the differences and to give a new impetus to partnership and cooperation between the two countries, which is considered as an important gain for the economy. It reflects as well the determination to strengthen trade agreements. Trade today is considered as a challenge that would guarantee complementarity and integration between the states. Today, Algerian-Mauritanian Economic Forum and the Fair of the Algerian Products exhibited at Nouakchott is a momentous initiative which takes part of the reinforcement of the means of cooperation between our two countries. In addition to the increase in trade in volume between both countries, the two parties work for the quantitative and quantitative increase of investment volume in various fields, notably through the signing of agreements of partnership in the economic sector.
In Chan updates, the major sporting event that is taking place in our country, Algeria played against Mozambique in a game that took place at the Nelson Mandela Stadium in Beraqi, where the Algerian team won with a goal 2-0, a third game to assure the lead of Group A and the qualification to the quarter-finals. Sahrawi People's Liberation Army carried out on Friday new attacks against positions of the Occupation Forces Army in the sector of Mahbas. In Spain, the pressure is on the government of Sanchez. Inflation keeps going up and so does the unemployment rate. Spanish people protested on Saturday against his diplomatic and economic policy. Sabrin Tafirginitu once again.
It's been several days now since demonstrations took a big part of Spanish people's lives. On Saturday, 30,000 protesters gathered in Madrid against the government and called on the Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez to resign. The Spanish right wing is outraged by the government's decision of dropping sedition charges against the 9 Catalan separatist leaders, sentenced to years in prison. The charges related to the 2017 Catalonia secession attempt. Last July, inflation in Spain had reached almost 11%. According to a report done by the charitable organization, namely Caritas, 3 out of 10 of Spanish families have barely enough the financial resources needed to maintain a decent life. Concerning the Sahrawi cause, the change in position, the diplomatic flip-flopping of the Prime Minister was denounced by the Spanish, and it did actually cost him a lot. The change of position in favor of Morocco was also rejected by parliamentarians who accused the head of the government of dropping a historic position of neutrality in the conflict.
With that, our news edition comes to an end. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.